Hello, and welcome to the Simply Business Interview Podcast, a podcast created by business owners for business owners. I am your host, John Jennings. And I believe that most business owners are working way too hard for much too little. And one of our issues is that we overcomplexify things. I believe the answers are almost always within us or within our reach. I like to say that I'm a simple man with simple ideas. So welcome to Simply Business. All right. Today we are joined by Kurt Reynolds, who is the owner and president of ReGadget. I'm looking forward to hearing more of his story. I know this is going to be one that's very interesting because he's doing some cool stuff in technology, which of course is my background, but also doing some things that are really good for the world and the greater community and other things. So, Kurt, why don't you first just introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about what you do there at ReGadget, and then we'll jump into some more of that story.
Yeah. Hey, John, thanks for having me. Excited to be on and talk about, ReGadget and our background. So we are an ITAD, which is IT Asset Disposition company, and a computer refurbisher. So we are working with schools and businesses throughout the country to bring in their old electronics into our facility and then refurbish those and get them back into the hands of people that could use them. The goal is to deal with sustainability, not send stuff to a landfill, not recycle things, not to send things overseas. Try to get them back out into the world and be used again.
Yeah. And you said one of the drivers for this is kind of that digital divide that we talk about. Speak to that a little bit. What is this driving purpose that you all have?
Yeah, so as a company, we have two main missions. The first one is sustainability, so trying to get the machines and get them back into the world. And then the second one is the digital divide. So roughly half of all the machines that we refurbish go into the digital divide. And they go in through three separate ways. We are partnered with a lot of nonprofits nationally, and they hit three types. The children, so kids who are under the poverty line and don't have a computer in their household. We also work with homeless shelters. So, people who don't have access to a computer because they don't have a home. 96% of all job resumes are now done online. And if you don't have a computer or somewhere to work on it, you really can't start to better yourself. And then
Right.
the third way is through veterans. So we're partnered with some veteran organizations to help, the veteran population get some machines there. And, we try our best, of all the ways to refurb and send machines out. We like doing it that way, trying to help as many people as we can. So we constantly are looking for more and more partners in that space so that we can help forward their mission and get these machines into the hands of people that need.
Yeah.
And then the newest piece that we've added was esports gaming computers. So we see that as part of the sustainability in digital divide because we're taking new cases and new lights that light up and look good like all the other gamers want. But we're doing some used parts on the inside that will still run the games, as good as you want it to, with no lag and be competition ready. And that helps with the digital divide because we partner with schools and clubs throughout the country. And as esports is growing, they're seeing so much benefit coming from them for students. So we're working with places that, because they've started esports, their attendance at school is gone up. The grades are getting better. The sense of community for some of these kids that might not have seen it is growing. And the studies that they're doing is showing that there's really good stuff coming from joining an esports program. But a lot of the schools don't have the funding to have esports. And schools across the board are in budget issues right now anyway.
Right.
To start if they were to try to buy new machines, they don't have the money, and then that's crazy expensive.
Yeah.
So we're trying to come in with a lower cost model that also gets them the keyboard, the mouse, the monitors, all for, less than half of what a new setup would cost.
Wow, that's cool. So tell us a little bit about your background. What brought you into this industry? You started in 2017, so you've been at it almost 10 years now. What inspired you to launch this business and that sort of thing?
Yeah, it's crazy that it's nearing that 10-year mark for us. So, I'm a CPA by trade, so nothing with technology and not the most technology savvy person anyway, but I've learned it all. I joined the industry, a little over 10 years ago and, learned it and got these partnerships going. And then ReGadget started off, on the side. There was a niche in the market with schools and Chromebooks that wasn't being met. And we were able to start with one person in a 1,000 square foot, facility. And he was all things customer service, production, he handled it all and, started the organic growth from there, up to now, we just passed the 50 employee mark and, hopefully we're up, by the end of the year. I think we might add another 20 people,
Wow.
and hit the 70 mark going into 2027.
Wow. So in 9 years, you've gone from startup. So, and you didn't do any fundraising. You bootstrapped this, right? And you started with one person, and now you're up over 50 people.
Yeah, when I talk to classes and kids all the time, or college students, I tell them I do not recommend it. But the very first load that we bought, I put on a credit card, my own personal card, not even a business card. We didn't have anything. We rented out a warehouse and got a load of computers. I believe we paid $7,000 on the card, and thought this, here we go, and then grew it from there. So yeah, no.
Wow.
Eventually, I think by the end of the first year, we were able to get a bank to give us some money
Yeah.
to bring on. We also moved into the first building we purchased at the end of that first year. But yeah, started just on a credit card and running. Luckily, my wife is supportive. Didn't ask many questions. She had no idea.
A supportive spouse is so important in something like this. So, and you received all kinds of accolades: Cincinnati Business of the Year, Inc. Whatever, Inc. 5000, I think, stuff like that. What are some of the accolades you've received?
Yeah, we're fortunate, that we've been recognized in some of these. So we've been on the Inc. 5000 list for fastest growing private companies twice. Last year we were on it again. I believe we'll be on it again this year when it comes out. We've been 2 years in a row on Cincinnati's Fast 55 for the 55 fastest growing companies. We've won a few other awards locally as well, but the one that we're probably the most proud of was being ranked top places to work in Cincinnati last year.
Mhm.
I believe we were in the top 25, and that's just a testament to our team. We have a phenomenal staff that buys into the mission. Especially with the digital divide stuff and being able to put all the efforts in to get these out, because a lot of it's quick turns. We don't know that we're shipping so soon, and they jump in and buy into the mission for us. And it lets us have a good culture and a good workplace. Everyone tends to enjoy coming in and working together and doing joining forces to help grow it. And because of that, the top places to work, that's voted on by the employees.
Mm.
So we take, great pride in that. And, as we're hiring, we try to be picky on what we're doing and who we're bringing in, that they fit the culture, and they're hard workers. And we've got a whole crew of people that come in and work hard every day.
Yeah. Yeah. I was about to ask you, and you kind of answered it. But how do you building a culture, starting a culture is one thing, but when you start getting to multiples of, you've grown, 50 times almost. uh, that it gets harder. You know, you get to past 10 people, you get past 20 people, get to 50 people, it gets harder to maintain that culture. So what's the secret in your mind?
So it starts with the people that are there now. Our leaders of the company are really good with it. And they kind of set the tone. And then then it goes into the hiring. So we the first person that's looking through the resumes is extremely picky of what's coming in, and just to come into an interview is tough because our guy would go back. I'll get calls all the time like, hey, I'm looking at this person and they're making posts back in 2020 about these things. I don't think they're going to work. And so we're diving into everyone
Wow.
that we get resumes from. And then in the interview process, it's checking in, making sure, we look for a couple of things. Will you fit into the culture and are you a hard worker? You don't actually have to know much about computers because we can teach that stuff.
Mhm.
But you can't teach a work ethic and you can't
Yeah.
teach to show up every day and put in the effort.
Yeah.
So we watch that very closely. And then our new hires, I think our team does a great job. They get a full training in each part of our process because we want to make sure if we have a need somewhere that everyone could be able to step in and do that. And in the people that they're training with is they're very good at making them feel welcome. So we hear all the time from people that they came in and felt welcomed right away.
Yeah.
That's what's really good and helps push and allows us to keep pushing forward without having to worry about being able to keep up or handle multiple things.
Yeah.
And the crew is so good. It's one thing that I don't worry much about, which is such a blessing to own a
Oh
company
yeah.
to worry about.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So speaking of worry, we talked about some of the challenges you face, and I like to on this podcast because it's all about being real and businesses. I always say business is simple, but it's also what this making it simple is the complex part, right? We have to and we fight all sorts of different things. You had some unique ones that you talked about you've struggled with. Uh, Share one or two stories that have been a challenge for you as the business owner and kind of how you overcome them.
Yeah, we've gotten some new challenges in the past 2 years, or I guess a year and a half now, that it makes you have to work hard to overcome them. And so the first one started with Microsoft getting rid of Windows 10 and moving everyone to Windows 11. So when you're in the
Mhm.
sustainability business, that's a huge group of computers and processors that are no longer viable. And we might disagree with Microsoft's decision, but we have to abide by it.
Yeah.
So my team didn't just say, "Hey, we're gonna, just take this huge set of computers and get rid of them." We got together and said, "How can we, change this and still let people use these computers that they're not just going into a landfill or into recycling?" And we got together and tested a ton of different operating systems. So you don't have to have Windows operating system. There's other options, and we were able to test a bunch and come up with one that we thought was really good. And what that allowed us to do is keep the price because when you're selling refurbished technology, there is a sweet spot on the pricing. And there's people at home, even if they just want to play on Facebook or do things on Microsoft Word on their computer, they don't need a new computer. So we were able to offer this other system and work with partners to keep these machines viable. Uh, and once that started going good, then we got the newest hit that we're still dealing with of the pricing. So due to AI, parts pricing has gone incredibly high, triple in price for RAM and for hard drives. And that is a huge issue because now, the RAM and hard drive cost more than the machine used to cost. And that's
Wow.
including all the
When you first said AI and parts, I'm like, what would AI have to do with parts? But I get it now.
Yeah, everyone's pushing into the AI phase. And what's happened, there's some manufacturers of RAM that just stopped manufacturing it. So, this is looking like it's going to be at least 2 years before there's any reduction in these prices.
Wow.
Um, and, so the normal thing is, okay, well, you got to raise prices. But, when you're trying to hit into the digital divide, we don't want to raise prices. We want to make sure that our customers are set and can keep going and pushing this in. So we actually haven't raised prices, and we're pretty proud of that we've worked around from having to raise prices for our best partners. And a big piece of that is the ITAD space that we're in, that we're able to bring in some machines and repurpose those parts in order to keep the pricing the same on them, and then raise pricing on some other aspects to offset it, so that we can keep distributing these into the market for the digital divide space.
Wow. Fascinating. So you've gotten through one major curveball with Microsoft. Now you got AI and just the whole. I mean, the whole world's going this way. And I assume you mentioned tariffs, but I bet tariffs probably come into play here too, because you're probably bringing in a lot of stuff from overseas.
Yeah, tariffs, right when the Windows stuff was happening, was also when the tariffs came about.
Mm.
And luckily, we were able to kind of price that in, but we are bringing in quite a bit from overseas. But that one wasn't. It was a hit, but not quite as bad as
Yeah.
the other two. Um, you know, uh, Also the digital equity grants, the government got rid of those. So a lot of the partners in the digital divide space, got some hits. A lot of the grants that they were using, got taken away.
Right.
So we've been partnering with them to come up with alternative solutions, and gotten pretty creative on some of that to make sure that their mission isn't impacted as bad as it probably could have been.
Okay.
But you know, you get some resilient partners, and we work with them to come up with solutions, and it's worked out pretty well. And now we're back running again with them.
Wow. Okay. So let's talk future a little bit. Where do you see Regadget going over the next 5 years or 5, 10 years? What's your goals?
Yeah, I'm as excited about the future as I've ever been. And I think we're pushing in a direction that's going to help us keep our mission and really push it forward. So within the past year, we brought on a whole new sales team, in business development team that will help us get into the ITAD space. So within the past year, we've gone from really one ITAD partner in the state, and now we're into 16 different states picking up machines
Mm.
from schools, businesses, and that's gone really well. And we're just scratching the surface of what that is. So I see us as a company transforming from a computer refurbisher into an ITAD company. And that's going to be the core piece of the company. But what will separate us is most of the companies that are in that space take it and then wholesale it out to, people like us now,
Mm.
or they go overseas. 80 to 90% of machines coming out of working environments end up in Dubai or China or recycled. And
Oh wow.
we're not doing that. So we'll be one of the few that are bringing it in just to refurbish it. And that's resonating with our partners that, hey, most of the people want to get rid of their machine so it's out of their way and make sure their data is safe. Those are your steps one and two. But we go to the third step that they don't really think of is, well, what happens to your machines and do you care about it? And the truth is, they don't really know. Once that data is off the machine, they feel good. But we tell them, like, here's what we're going to do with it. We're going to refurbish it and get it back out into the world. And most likely, it's going into the hands of a child who doesn't have access to a machine or internet. Uh,
Mm.
and that resonates to people. Once they know that, then they're really well receiving our pitch and working with us. And that's what's helped propel our growth on that side of things.
Mm.
And then we're bringing on some more. So we've got some other people we're targeting to bring in to keep ramping that side up. Uh,
Yeah.
so space is a new issue. We need a bigger facility. We're out there looking for that right now. Not always easy to find. But yeah, so I'm expecting, in the next 5 years for us to really ramp up with people because the machines are going to start coming in, way more than they are now.
Yeah. And where are you getting most of those from? What is there a target market you're really going after to
So
offer?
it's we're kind of hitting all spaces in that. So we do a bunch with schools and the takeout window for schools, April to August is real busy for us there on the school side.
Okay.
We have, one Fortune 500 company that we're working with. We just signed up another public company that we're starting the takeouts on.
So when you say take out, when their laptops reach end of life, they're sending them to you to repurpose.
Yeah. So, and then we got the local companies. So Cincinnati, we're doing local pickups. We'll drive, pick it up and do it. So we're, anyone that has electronics, we're coming on and take them. So we just say if it plugs in or, is a part of any electronic piece, we will take. So we want to be a one-stop shop for servers, networking equipment, phones, printers, copiers, and then obviously the computers. And while we focus on the computer side of things, we have partners that are similar to us that we will send the servers to, and then we'll send the switches to, and things like that,
Okay.
in hopes to keep everything as much as possible back into working environments.
That's cool. So when I come up and see, I've got an old laptop I need to bring you.
You'll see exactly how it works from step one of getting the data wiped, and ensuring that's taken care of. We can even show you how to get the certificate that we send out. And since we are a refurbisher, when we put it through and we put the new Microsoft license on it for those that we're doing that with, we actually wipe it twice. So we're one of the few that would wipe the hard drives twice and not just once.
Oh, wow. Cool. So, so you're in Northern Kentucky, but you serve kind of the whole greater Cincinnati, or actually you serve the whole country, or have the ability to serve the whole country. So but your home base is Northern Kentucky. So uh, if people want to find out more about you, or if a young, let's say a young person is really, interested in um, uh, your mission and purpose about sustainability and the digital divide. How do they find out more about ReGadget?
So the best way is probably through our website, regadget.com. We do have LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram. It's we've put a big emphasis on being on social media now. And would love to talk more with people. With the growth that we're experiencing, we are bringing on all kinds of roles from sales to production. We just hired administrator, an accountant, and different things like that. So, we are open to different things and seeing how they work, or ways to partner with people. Uh,
Cool.
we'd be open to all of it.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, I love ending kind of with this question. It's just, you're an entrepreneur. I'm an entrepreneur. And a lot of the people listen to this are entrepreneurs. What advice do you have to that person out there that's thinking about starting a business? Could be something like this or something totally different. What advice do you have for a person looking to start out? I mean, you started off with a credit card, $7,000 in debt. So, I mean, what advice do you have for someone looking to start a business?
I think if you believe in yourself, and you're honest to yourself that you will put in the proper effort and go, that you got to try it, especially, if you're young, you've got to try things, and you can't be afraid of failure. A famous Kentucky coach just came out and Will Stein and said, "If you're scared, go to church." And I thought that was a great line that he said because, you're always going to be scared of stuff in your life, and you can't let that keep you from trying it. Uh,
Yeah.
but you also have to be realistic with yourself. Are you going to put in the time that it takes to do it,
Right.
and really see it through? Because not everyone is meant to try things. But if you believe in yourself and um, you're going to put in the effort, then yeah, you absolutely should try it, and take the risk,
Yeah.
and really go after it.
Yeah. I hear that all the time. And it's so true. I mean, uh, failure is just one step towards success, right? And you've got to, fail a few times until you succeed. And,
Yeah, and we've been through ups and downs as well.
yeah,
And doing different things to weather the storm. And you get through it, and then you get to push forward. So, it's not all a linear progression. And you got to take you got kind of as the leader, you have to be even keeled through the highs and the lows, to keep things on track moving forward.
yeah,
And once you are aware of that, a lot of people see leaders or business owners, and they see, the outward side of them on social media and stuff, but what they don't know is all the hard work or battles going on behind the scenes
yeah,
that not everyone shares. And if you start your own thing, or you're an entrepreneur, you're not alone going through those battles. Other people are doing it, and probably everyone's going through the same
yeah.
types of issues.
I
So
always, I
I
always
would,
say to people when don't compare uh, to what you're just reading on social media. You're comparing your real life to their highlight reel, and
yes.
they're they're not telling you all the stuff that happened. And,
Yeah,
the
and
Windows 10 challenges and other stuff that you have to battle through, right?
yeah, and also having a support system to yourself. Everyone needs a good support system.
Yeah,
I'm fortunate that I've got an incredible support system, that I can always talk to different people. And I'm lucky that I've got a bunch that I can go to for different things,
right.
and know that they're going to be honest with me, good or bad. So I'm constantly bouncing stuff off of those people, and taking what they're saying, and moving forward with it.
Yeah, very cool. Well, Kurt, thank you so much for coming on the program. It's great to hear your story, and it is certainly, I mean, all these stories are so inspirational, and yours is as well. So it's just building something. I'm going to remember that one, the credit card, $7,000. That's a that's a heck of a way to start a business.
I
But
recommend it for sure.
yeah, but look at you now. It all started with that. So that's very cool.
Yeah, that was fun, but it's a good story to tell.
Yeah, absolutely. Well,
So
thanks for coming on.
I appreciate you having me. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to today's episode. If you liked it, please share or like it on whatever platform you use. You can find me on social media. On most platforms, I'm John K. Jennings. My first book is also available. Your Baby is Ugly tells you about 10 truths that business owners need to hear, but often won't, and how to overcome them. You can find it on Amazon. Just search for Your Baby is Ugly. And be watching for our next episode, where I'll interview another business owner who will share their stories and insights into what it's like to create a great business.